And what if I told you that everything you experience today, your victories, your failures, even your most secret fears, is not the result of chance, but rather of what you have chosen to believe in? It sounds absurd, doesn't it? After all, how could something invisible like faith be more powerful than the visible reality around you? Yet this is exactly what I want to reveal to you now. Faith is the most creative force in the universe. It builds empires or destroys lives. And what separates a winner from a loser is not luck, it is faith. I spent many years of my life observing something that few truly understand. Faith is not merely a vague feeling or a fragile hope, but the creative energy that shapes every detail of reality. Everything you live today is a direct reflection of what you believed yesterday. Perhaps you have never stopped to consider this, but every thought you nurture transforms into action, and every repeated action constructs the scene you call life. It is not coincidence, it is consequence. When I studied men like Thomas Edison and Henry Ford, I noticed a recurring pattern among all the great achievers of history: they believed before they saw. Edison failed thousands of times, but his faith was not based on immediate results, it was grounded in the unshakable conviction that the electric lamp already existed in the unseen, waiting only for the right moment to manifest. Ford was doubted by engineers, friends, and even family, yet he never relinquished his inner certainty that he could place the automobile in the hands of ordinary people. These stories reveal not luck, but a universal principle: you must first believe, first feel, and internally experience victory even before it becomes visible. Now I ask you, how many times have you abandoned a dream because you could not yet see the outcome? How many times have you thought, "This is not for me, I have no money, I lack the necessary talent"? And what if I told you that in precisely those moments, you were killing the seed of your victory before it could even sprout? Modern science, through neuroscience, now confirms what I have observed throughout my life: the human brain organizes and filters external reality according to what you firmly believe. This means your faith is the filter that determines what you perceive as possible or impossible. If your mind is immersed in scarcity, you will find only closed doors. But if your faith is anchored in abundance, your mind will work for you, identifying paths, ideas, and opportunities that have always been before you, but which lack of faith prevented you from seeing. And do not think I am talking about something distant from your reality. Consider a current example: how many young people today dream of becoming entrepreneurs but stop at the first obstacle, believing they do not have enough money or that the market is already saturated? They feed doubts more than faith. Meanwhile, others, perhaps with fewer resources but a living faith in their vision, rise each day to act, test, learn, and adjust. And these are the ones who end up creating companies, careers, and movements capable of transforming the world. Steve Jobs is a recent example of this. Even before launching the first iPhone, he already envisioned a future where technology would fit in the palm of the hand. He believed so strongly that his faith became conviction, his conviction became action, and his action became a product that changed the course of history. But here is the contradiction that traps most people: everyone says they believe, but few truly have faith. The difference is simple. Hope is wishing for something to happen. Faith is acting as if it has already happened. Do you see the difference? Those who merely wish become victims of circumstances, those who have faith create the circumstances. How many times have you told yourself, "When I have more time I will start, when I have more money I will achieve it, when things get better I will try"? That is not faith, that is an excuse dressed as hope. True faith acts in the present, even without all guarantees. And perhaps you are asking now, but if faith is so powerful, why do so many people live trapped in mediocre lives, in frustrating relationships, with bills that never balance? The answer is hard, but necessary, because they cultivate fear more than faith. Every time you think "I cannot," you are planting seeds of failure. Every time you repeat "this is not for me," you are watering the weeds of limitation. Remember, the human mind is like a garden. If you do not plant flowers, weeds will grow on their own. Fear, doubt, insecurity, all of this takes up space in your mind when you do not actively cultivate it with thoughts of victory, confidence, and abundance. I know that perhaps at this very moment, you are recalling situations in your life where you gave up because you felt too small for the challenge. And this is exactly where the secret lies. Faith is not about ignoring reality, but about choosing which reality you will nurture within yourself. The farmer plants his seed knowing he will not see immediate fruit, but trusts that the harvest will come. In the same way, when you decide to cultivate faith, you must act like that farmer: plant, water, nurture, and wait with conviction. Therefore I assert, your life is a direct reflection of the quality of your faith. If you believe in failure, you will reap failure. If you believe in abundance, you will inevitably reap abundance. This is not magic, it is law. It is as unchangeable as the law of gravity. Now I ask, what do you truly believe in today? Because the answer to this question is already creating your tomorrow. The greatest enemy of faith has never been lack of ability, nor lack of opportunities, but fear. Fear is silent but relentless. It paralyzes, corrodes courage, and makes you give up before even beginning. How many times have you failed to act because you were afraid of failing, afraid of being judged, afraid of losing what you had already achieved, or even afraid of the unknown? The truth is that every time you give in to fear, you surrender your vital energy to it, and that energy should be nourishing your faith. Where fear grows, faith dies. I remember clearly when I lost everything during the Great Depression. I saw my family in need, I saw my wife worried about what we would have to eat the next day. And during that period, fear surrounded me from all sides. It whispered in my mind that I was incapable, that I should not continue, that my mission to teach the power of the human mind made no sense in the face of so much pain. I almost succumbed to this invisible enemy. But it was there, right there at the bottom, that I realized something: faith is not the absence of challenges, but the strength to overcome them. Faith is the flame that insists on shining even when all around is darkness. And here is the question I want to ask you: how many opportunities have already slipped from your life simply because you believed more in your fear than in your faith? How many ventures were never started? How many relationships were never experienced? How many dreams never even attempted, because your mind was occupied with thinking about everything that could go wrong? Have you noticed how fear creates illusions? It paints pictures of failure that almost never come true, yet still have enough power to freeze your actions. Consider the example of Nikola Tesla, a brilliant man with a genius mind. He had ideas capable of changing the world, yet he allowed doubt, insecurity, and fear to consume him. Tesla died poor and unrecognized, while others, not as brilliant but with faith and courage to act, changed history and reaped the rewards. Compare this to Thomas Edison. He failed thousands of times trying to invent the light bulb, but his faith was greater than his fear. Edison did not see failures, he saw attempts that brought him closer to victory. While Tesla let doubt suffocate him, Edison became a symbol of persistence driven by faith. And that is exactly how life works for all of us. When you allow yourself to look at the waves and storms, as Peter did when trying to walk on water, you sink. Jesus asked him, "Man of little faith, why did you doubt?" This is the same question that echoes in our minds whenever we choose to pay more attention to the wind than to the voice of faith. Doubt is a crack in the foundation of your life. It starts small, but if left unchecked, it compromises the entire structure. How many times have you told yourself, "I will start tomorrow, I will wait for the right moment, I am not ready yet"? This is the most common disguise of fear: procrastination. You believe you are preparing, waiting for the perfect time, but in truth, you are paralyzed. And the hard truth is, the right moment will never arrive. If you wait for perfection, you will never act. True faith manifests in the now. It does not need all the answers, it does not demand that all conditions are in your favor. Faith takes the first step, even in the dark. And do not think that only internal fear is dangerous. The environment you live in can also steal your faith. Negative words, people who complain about everything, conversations revolving around scarcity and limitation, all of this is poison for your mind. How often have you shared a dream and someone said, "That is impossible, that won't make money, you won't succeed"? And without realizing, those words lingered inside you until you began to believe them. It is exactly as Scripture says, bad company corrupts good morals. If you constantly surround yourself with pessimism, your faith weakens without you noticing. That is why I say, if you want your faith to flourish, you must learn to protect your mind as you would a valuable garden. A farmer does not allow pests to devour his crops, he fences, cares, and watches over them. Likewise, you must surround your thoughts with everything that strengthens your belief. Feed yourself with stories of overcoming, words of life, examples of victory. Replace fear with conviction, doubt with certainty, procrastination with action. Here is something that can completely change the course of your life. Every time you face fear and choose to act, you increase your own faith. It is as if each step taken despite uncertainty is a brick placed in building your confidence. And the more you move forward, the stronger the foundation of your faith becomes. The battle against fear will never be fully won, it is daily. But with each victory, you grow stronger. Therefore, do not wait for fear to disappear to start. It will always be nearby, whispering that you are not capable. The secret is simple: act anyway. Because when you decide to move forward despite fear, your faith multiplies, and fear becomes just a distant echo. In the end, you realize the enemy was never that great, you had simply not awakened the greatness of your faith. Faith is not an abstract concept reserved only for books or sermons. It is practical, it is life, it is a muscle that must be exercised daily. If you do not put it into action, it atrophies. It is no use saying you believe if your actions continue to reflect doubt and fear. What truly transforms your reality is when your thoughts, words, and actions align with the conviction of what you wish to live. This is what I call creative faith. Ask yourself now, what have you been believing in? Are your beliefs serving as fuel for your dreams or as chains holding you to the ground? Because if you look honestly, you will see that often it is not the lack of opportunity that restrains you, but the belief system you nurture yourself. And here is the central point: if faith shapes your reality, it must be activated every day, like lighting a flame and refusing to let it die out. There are 3 keys that make this faith tangible in daily life. The first is to think with faith. The human mind is like fertile soil. It does not decide what to plant, it only multiplies what you put into it. If you sow fear, scarcity, and doubt, you will reap exactly that. But if you plant thoughts of victory, abundance, and trust, you will inevitably harvest different results. Science has proven this. Your thoughts create neural patterns that affect your emotions, decisions, and even your physiology. In other words, when you decide to think as one who has already won, your brain begins to work in harmony with that conviction. Therefore, whenever doubt arises, immediately replace it with a statement of faith. Tell yourself, I am capable, my victory is on its way. This repeated practice reorganizes your mind to operate on another level. The second key is to speak with faith. Words are not neutral, they carry creative energy. When you constantly repeat phrases like, I cannot, this is impossible for me, I will never achieve, you are declaring your own defeat. Worse, you are programming your mind to believe it. Conversely, when you assert firmly, I am building my victory, the impossible is only my next step, you create an internal and external environment that favors progress. It is no coincidence that it is written, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Every word is a seed cast into the future you are building. So tell me, what kind of seeds are you sowing daily? The third key is to act with faith. Here many fail, because they confuse faith with passive waiting. Faith is not sitting and hoping something falls from the sky. Faith is acting without guarantees, taking the first step even without seeing the whole path. If you desire prosperity, start today by organizing your finances, even if it is just a small amount. If you desire health, make a small different choice on your plate, walk a few more minutes. If you desire professional growth, read a few pages of a book, enroll in a course, apply new knowledge at work. The mistake most people make is waiting for the perfect scenario, but the perfect scenario will never come. True faith reveals itself when you decide to act with the resources you have today, confident that each step draws new opportunities. There is also one ingredient that many overlook, yet it has the power to multiply the strength of faith: gratitude. When you express thanks, even before seeing the result, you are telling the universe and yourself, I already believe, I have already received. Gratitude removes the mind from scarcity and places it into abundance. I personally observed, in the greatest millionaires I studied, the constant habit of giving thanks. They did not wait to achieve everything in order to be grateful, they expressed gratitude for what they had and for what was yet to come. This simple yet powerful habit creates a virtuous cycle of accomplishment. So here is my challenge for you: for 7 days, every morning, write down 5 things for which you are grateful. Do it with conviction. At the end of the week, notice how your mind opens to seeing opportunities where previously you only saw problems. When you unite thought, word, action, and gratitude, your faith stops being a theory and becomes a tangible force. This is how you activate creative faith in daily life. This is how you transform desires into real achievements. And remember, faith is not merely believing that one day something will be possible. Faith is living as if it already is. Because when you decide to think, speak, act, and give thanks as someone who has already won, inevitably your reality begins to bend before your conviction. The life you desire does not begin tomorrow, it begins now, in what you choose to believe and practice today. When I began writing Think and Grow Rich many said I was wasting my time. They said no one would believe in a book that spoke about becoming wealthy through the power of the mind. Some even laughed, calling it madness or fantasy, claiming that real life did not work that way. But the truth is I had something they did not: faith. I believed, with every fiber of my being, that the principles I had discovered through decades of study and interaction with the world's greatest millionaires could transform lives. That faith kept me going when fatigue overwhelmed me, when criticism attacked, when insecurity knocked at the door. And it was precisely this faith that allowed me to impact millions of people around the world. Now consider this: how many dreams have already died simply because someone around you said they were too big? How many talents never blossomed because they were buried under others' words of disbelief? How many incredible ideas never left the page because the dreamer gave up before even starting? And what if I had given up? What if I had listened to those who called me a naive visionary? You probably would never have heard my name, much less the principles that have already transformed so many lives. Here is where faith becomes unshakable, when you understand that you do not need the approval of others to move forward. When you realize your conviction is enough to sustain your journey, even if the entire world says it will fail. The Bible reminds us that faith the size of a mustard seed is enough to move mountains. It does not matter whether others see it or not, what matters is what you choose to believe within yourself. Think of how many times you have given up because of someone else's opinion. How many times have you looked more at others' judgmental eyes than at your own vision? Ask yourself, who are these people to dictate the limits of your life? Who are they to decide how far you can go? The truth is most people are so bound to their own limitations that they cannot bear to see someone believe in something greater. And if you allow that disbelief to infiltrate your mind, you will become just another face in the crowd. Feel this in your heart: unshakable faith is not that which never faces attacks, but that which remains firm despite them. It is the faith that looks at the storm and says, "This too shall pass." It is the faith that faces bankruptcy, loss, and pain, yet still declares, "I was born to win." It is this silent force that sustains the great builders of history, those who create the impossible precisely because they believed when no one else did. And see how this applies today. How many people have been called crazy for believing in a visionary idea? Walt Disney was told by a bank that his project was far too childish and would never succeed. Yet he kept drawing, believing, persisting. Today, millions travel across the world to live the dream he refused to abandon. His faith became unshakable because it was grounded not in circumstances but in a clear and firm internal vision. Now consider the opposite. How many lives were ruined because doubt prevailed? How many brilliant careers were lost because someone gave up too soon? I saw this repeatedly in my research: people with extraordinary talent but without sufficient faith to sustain their journey. It is sad but true. Failure rarely comes from a lack of ability, it almost always comes from a lack of faith. Here is the reflection I want to leave with you: your life will not be remembered for what you tried and failed at, but for what you believed with such intensity that you refused to give up. Unshakable faith is what separates those who merely dream from those who actually accomplish. I know this because I have lived it. And I want you to understand, if I could persist when all seemed lost, you can too. Ask yourself, which dream have you set aside because the obstacles seemed too great? Which vision have you shelved because someone said it was impossible? Perhaps now is the moment to reclaim that dream and decide that this time, you will not let it go. True faith does not negotiate with fear, it moves forward despite it. In the end, you do not need everyone to believe in you. It is enough that you do. And when your faith becomes unshakable, nothing, absolutely nothing, can prevent the invisible from becoming reality before your eyes. If there is one point you should take from this video, it is this: your life is a direct reflection of what you believe with conviction. External circumstances do not define your future, it is the invisible power of your faith that does. Those who feed fear reap limitation, but those who feed faith reap abundance. This is the key that transforms dreams into reality. Now, if you wish to continue this journey, the next video is already appearing on your screen. In it, you will climb another step in your evolution of wisdom, becoming 1% better than you are now. This is the path of those who grow continuously. If this content touched your heart, consider supporting the channel with a thanks, which allows us to continue delivering transformative messages. And if you wish to go further, become part of our community through a subscription. You will receive priority for videos and be part of a movement of people who have chosen to live a life guided by faith and wisdom. I thank you for being here and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Let us move forward together, for with each new teaching, you draw closer to the abundant life you were born to live.
You may get your first cue as to the nature of the Great Master Key. When I tell you that psychologists have discovered a natural law which is the very foundation of all personal successes. And I can describe it to you in one short sentence so you can understand it. Whatever the mind can conceive, and believe the mind can achieve. Isn't that? A profound statement. You will notice that it says nothing about the need for education. but simply that whatever your mind can conceive and believe, your mind can achieve. Now, if you want evidence that the mind can achieve whatever the mind can conceive without the benefit of formal education, you only have to remember that Thomas A. Edison conceived the idea of becoming the attainment of your desires, whatever they may be. The exact moment when I will deliver this master key to you will depend entirely upon when you are ready to receive it.